Hi, we're at the INTX show in Chicago. We have the opportunity to spend some time with Joachim Roos, who is the CEO of Edgeware. One of the things that I find surprising, and you made this announcement here at the show, is that by virtue of the long time that you've had your solution in the marketplace and the capabilities that were built into it, you actually are probably the biggest supplier of cloud DVR service in the world now. I think it's something on the order of 10 million users have access to cloud DVR across 30-some operators in various parts of the globe. What is driving this? What do you see as has put you in this position to capitalize on this demand now for cloud DVR?
I think it goes back to the history of the company. We founded the company on the idea that the transformation of linear TV as we know it into an on-demand experience would consume a lot of bandwidth in the networks. And that was the problem we set out to solve when we founded the company almost 10 years ago. And to be perfectly honest, the first system that we shipped to the first customer was capable of doing cloud DVR. Of course, now we call it cloud DVR, back then we called it something else. Yeah. But it was inherently capable of doing ingesting and recording and playback at the same time with extremely short latency.
So by virtue of having that platform in place, when it came time and they saw the opportunity for gaining subscribers, keeping subscribers, that the benefits of having a cloud DVR catch-up sort of time shift capability, they put that into use. And so it's almost like it's just been going on under your radar because it was already out there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we think that VOD obviously is an interesting application for most operators to deploy, but the real traffic driver has turned out to be cloud DVR.
One of the things in the press release referred to your customer KPN, the Dutch telecom, as having increased its subscriber base by a substantial number since it launched its first cloud DVR service back in 2011. I think, yeah. So, is your feeling out there based on the feedback from your customers that, and this is really important for this market, which is just getting its feet wet with cloud DVR, that it has an impact in terms of subscriber retention and adding new subscribers?
It absolutely has, and I think that's one of the differentiations that an operator can provide in relation to, for instance, the new OTT providers who come to this market. Because most OTT providers, they come with certain packages containing VOD content. But the real challenge is to provide, the bridge between an on-demand, linear and an on-demand consumption of, for instance, locally produced broadcast content.
I guess one of the distinguishing factors too in what you do is that while you've long been identified as supplying a private CDN multi protocol delivery system and caching system, you also are doing it from the core, and so you're using a hierarchical approach for time shift and for other things that allow you to basically use the resources in a very flexible, dynamic way across the entire ecosystem. How important has that been as a distinction? Because I don't know many other people that are doing it.
I think it has been very important that it's been built in day one. I mean, the ability to actually record, not just in one central location, but to do it in a hierarchical manner. Because that allows us to build a scalable system for that service. It's not so hard to do it if you do it small scale, but to do it really scalable for millions of subscribers, then it's not so easy anymore. Especially if you couple it with requirements to reduce latency, for instance, because you want to be able to watch on demand, but very close to the point of ingress. But if you convert everything to VOD content, then it's of course, then that is a looser requirement, I would say. but then the service is not as compelling.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, the OTT guys have a limited amount of stuff that's available in any event, so the service provider just adds a dimension to what their advantage already is.
And they operate in a local market where they very often have a good relationship with the local broadcasters and other people who have locally produced content.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what else is being done with your platform. Obviously, it's suited for the TV everywhere. I see up here you've got some other things noted. Why don't you describe to us
some very important aspect that, or I would say a pain point for the operators, especially here in North America in the cable space, is how to approach the transformation from delivered video into IP delivered, or ultimately into an all IP delivered video experience. And we have thought that it's very important that you have one system that is able to deal with both these ways of distributing content, because then you can seamlessly migrate instead of basically forklifting into the new world. And that will make it much easier to decide on making an investment. Today we cover both sides. We cover the distribution network, which we call the VCP Edge. That's our product. It's the Edge distribution layer. Then we have an Origin product that we call VCP Origin. And by having both these products, there are actually things that we can do to allow operators to build very scalable solutions, to scale out the Origin farm into the Edge, and to move seamlessly capacity from the central locations onto the Edge.
So as that IP stream builds and the usage volume builds, then you can move it out as you need to.
Exactly, and the reason for doing that is, of course, to build a much more scalable system. That doesn't require you to upgrade or even forklift your permanent network infrastructure before you can deal with the traffic volumes that are foreseen. To be everywhere, you need to have a toolbox with a set of tools that enable you to do that.
Yeah.
It's not just to say that, okay, I have a central streaming site here, and of course, in theory, I can stream everywhere from that site. But it's not practical and it's not economical to do that in many cases. So you need a technology that allows you to inject, to stream video from different locations, also in a so-called TV Everywhere application. And we have that because we cover both these areas that I mentioned before.
Now I noticed another thing up here referring to ultra-low latency sports. Tell us a little bit about, I mean, obviously that's becoming ever more important from the standpoint of user experience. When we had these massive audiences build overnight for an event, that a lot of these systems have stumbled in trying to handle all that. So what is it that you're bringing to the table here with getting past some of those issues?
What we specifically address here as part of our Origin server product is that we minimize the latency, and that is the latency from point of ingest until we can consume the video on the other side. And we demonstrate here that we bring it down to basically the length of a segment, which is typically 2 seconds. If you do that using a traditional Origin server, then you would get maybe half a minute just from Origin ingest to play out. And then if you would feed through a third-party CDN, that would add another 25 to 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So you would end up with a 1 minute latency if you consume the same content on an iPad compared to on your TV set. And we think that becomes prohibitive for many of the sports services that people want to launch. So we decided that we wanted to do something about that, and so we did. And I can mention one specific application which is even more demanding. It's the sports betting services, where you can imagine that if you have latency, then it's not a functioning betting service anymore. And we won a quite substantial contract with a customer for the specific reason that we could reduce the latency to the numbers that we can.
What kind of customer? You mean a sports network or
it's a sports betting service,
It's literally a sports
which is
betting
today over satellite, and they are going to distribute over IP.
That's very interesting. One other thing, I just want to touch on this because I know this is another piece of what needs to be done that isn't necessarily being done very well, which is the collection of the data off of all the devices, off the user experience, and then being able to parse that data. Now, you guys aren't in the analytics business per se.
Well, not quite. That's not how we see ourselves.
Yeah. So how do you make the analytics work better? I guess is the question.
Well, we basically cut the problem at the source. The problem, if you go into the world of adaptive streaming, is that you stream small clips that are requested out of a system somewhere, and neither the clips that you request nor the actual request of those clips is seen as something that belongs together. You just see them as individual clips. So it's very hard to correlate two requests to see that they belong to the same session, or to correlate two clips and say that they belong to the same answer.
It's just ridiculous.
And that's a big problem. But by introducing what we have a virtual session concept and an understanding of the underlying asset, also when we look at individual clips, it enables us to, from the source, i.e. the delivery servers, the caches, we can send very little data to actually log that something has happened. We can compress the amount of logging information by at least 2 orders of magnitude.
So it sounds like you're just registering what happens when it changes.
Exactly.
You're not just catching all those back and forth ABR requests.
Exactly. And in that manner, we then log these entries into our database that we use to keep track of everything else that's happening. And then we can produce very powerful information about the sessions and about the use of the assets, etc.
Are you starting to break that up in any ways that go into the analytics engines or for specific purposes, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, today we think it's relevant to offer a light form of analytics which is real time. So I don't see that we directly compete against people who focus on analytics, because they produce analytics in a more batch-oriented mode, and they extract much more information than we do. But we see a definite need for the operators to be able to see content analytics at the level that we provide as well. And then we couple that with network analytics and network monitoring, which keeps track of the use of the network resource as such, and how much we stream from each point of ingest, and how much we ingest and how much we pay out, and so forth. And that gives you a fairly holistic view of how your service behaves in your network. And that we think is very important for our customers.
Clearly. One last question, and I'll let you go, and that is, this is a self-contained, scalable system, end-to-end. How does it integrate with all the other things that are out there, from the transcoding side, from the back office side, from the service management side, all the things that have to make this work in a typical environment?
Over the years, we've done a large number of integrations with various other companies in this field. We don't have the intention to build set-top boxes or set-top clients and other things. We are a very focused company. So we have to be able to be open and flexible when it comes to dealing with other companies and other partners. And we have today a large number of APIs that support the various ecosystem vendors that you will see in the marketplace, and also some of the few, I would say, standards that are around, because this is not a very well standardized field.
Well, Joachim, I imagine that this market, now that it's ready to move, is going to find the merits in this. I think it sounds pretty compelling.
I'm sure you're right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fred.